Hello. What kind of fucking wave is that? Are you Cinderella in the parade?
They sure am. Cinderella was in a parade?
I don't know. Why am I whispering?
I don't know.
So it's April 22nd and it's snowing right now. I mean, it's not sticking, but it's like snowflakes. And it's supposed to like freeze tonight. There's a freeze warning and they're like, cover up your plants.
I know, I still haven't planted my fucking flowers, thank God.
Our hostas are starting to come up and I'm kind of worried about them. I think those will be fine though, they're tough.
Well, my freaking, what are they called? Daffodils sprouted like a month ago and then they just died because it froze so many times. Like, why'd you guys come up so soon?
It's because it's been freaking 70 and 80 and 90 degrees at the beginning of April. They're like, oh, we can come up now. Coffee. Hello, welcome back to whatever the hell is going on here. I have not figured it out yet. It's Bertwin. You're blocking Bertwin. You should put him like right there.
Well, I was just gonna hide him in the background.
So we got coffee today. We'll see if this is as bad as last time. It probably will be.
Oh, I missed my mouth.
And if you want to see all of the F-ups and giggles we have, you can check out our Patreon, because when this video goes up, if you're seeing this right now, the blooper reel is also on Patreon. So if you want to go over there and listen to all of the horrible things that were said and the fact that we just are 25 years old and we still can't read, that would be a great spot for you to go. The starting price is $3 and it would greatly support us, and you can giggle and call us stupid because we are stupid.
Why'd I laugh like that?
My point proven. Today we're talking about another cult, not a cult, a cult. Cul-de-sac. This is a cult that we both find very interesting. I am doing this thing that I don't know if I have mentioned before, but I am doing old topics that I've already covered, and then I'm deleting that old video because I think we know why by now. But this has been a 3-minute long intro, so let's get into it. So the People's Temple is also known as the Jonestown Massacre because it was a massacre. And I've split this up into 2 parts. Part 1 is going to be focusing mainly on his life and his upbringing and the things that happened in his childhood, high school years and stuff. And then part 2 is going to be about the cult and his activities in the cult and the things that happened in the cult. Both of these parts are in the same video, so you don't have to go anywhere. This is just going to be a long ass video. Jim Jones's childhood. He was born May 13th, 1931 to James Thurman Jones and Lynetta Putnam. His father was a disabled military veteran and had lung problems. With him having those issues, it led to a lot of financial problems. Like, he wasn't able to go out and work, and the mom wasn't able to go out to work because she was taking care of the kid, Jim. In 1934, which was the middle of the Great Depression, they were evicted for not making their mortgage payments. And I mean, the Great Depression, it was very depressive and stuff like that. My grandma,
How insightful.
My grandma was alive during the Great Depression. They started living in a shack that a relative got for them. That is where he spent most of his childhood. The shack didn't have plumbing or electricity, so it was cold there in the winters, and I'm assuming there was probably like an outhouse or something on the property, because I'm almost positive that indoor like toilets and stuff were not invented yet. It was still outhouses. I may be wrong on that, I don't know for sure. They tried to make money through like farming and stuff, agricultural, but his dad's health was so bad that he just was not able to. Because of that, they relied a lot on foraging in the woods, and they were surviving pretty much off of their relatives. The relatives would send money, so they were able to have food and stuff. He said his mom lacked maternal instincts, which led to him being neglected as a child. When he started going to school, his family cut them off, saying they'll only help if his mom got a job. And at that time, his dad was in and out of the hospital with breathing issues. Because his mom had to go out and get a job and his dad was in and out of the hospital, he was left alone a lot, unsupervised. His aunts and uncles would supervise him, but a lot of the time he was just roaming around in the streets. A lot of the times he was naked, roaming around in the streets, and then the ladies in the town, while their husbands were at work and stuff, they would be at home, they would see him roaming around, and they would be like, oh my god, this is a naked baby roaming around. He was only like 3, 4, 5 at this point, and so they would bring him in, and they would talk to him, get to know him, and they developed, you know, this thing where they would all take care of him. And it led to a pastor's wife becoming attached to him, and she gave him his very first Bible. She started encouraging him to study it and read it, and he ended up becoming very attached to it, and he started carrying it around everywhere with him. As he got older, he started going to church and was baptized in many of the churches in town. He wanted to become a preacher and started practicing alone, and his mother caught him practicing and said it disturbed her to see him imitating the pastor of the Apostolic Pentecostal Church. This is something that I found really weird. It says he started visiting a casket manufacturer in town and then started having funerals for the roadkill. One time he killed a cat to have a funeral for it, and then he tried to get the neighborhood kids to like come to his funerals for these dead animals, but they were like, hell no, what are you doing?
Hey kid, you wanna come?
He claimed he was able to fly, and then as he was trying to demonstrate to the kids that he could fly, he fell and broke his arm. I feel like that's something you would do.
No.
It progressed. He started putting other kids' lives in life-threatening situations. He would claim that he is the angel of death. If I ever had a kid come up to me and be like, I am the angel of death, I would deck them.
I'd be like, turn back around.
Remember at the school when we were rib sticking and that little kid came up to you and called you fat?
It happened quite a few times in my adolescence.
We were rib sticking up at the school. We were like 14 or 15, and we were by the basketball court where there's concrete, and we were rib sticking around, and this little kid, probably like 6, 7, 8, comes up to us, looks at Carly and was like, you're fat. And then he just left, and we were like, what the hell?
Thanks for stopping by.
His neighbors said he had a very strange fascination with religion and death, which you can tell by his funerals and killing cats and carrying his Bible with him everywhere and being baptized all over town. I didn't even know you could do that.
You get baptized more than once, but...
He started studying and became influenced by Hitler, Stalin, and Gandhi. Those are not the people you should look up to in life. Just saying. He was interested in the Nazi Party when World War II started, and he started to act like a dictator towards the other kids. When he was older, he said, I quote, I was ready to kill by the end of 3rd grade. I mean, I was so aggressive and hostile. I was ready to kill. Nobody gave me love, any understanding. In those days, a parent was supposed to go with a child to school functions. There was some kind of school performance, and everybody's parent was there but mine. I was standing there alone, always alone. And his love for religion was influenced by wanting to have a family.
Ghost stories are always scarier when they're told by the very people who experienced them. Hi, I'm Becky.
And I'm Diana.
And we're the hosts of the Homespun Haints podcast.
We talk to people just like you who have come face to face with ghosts, demons, haints, and other strange paranormal phenomena. All of it makes for a chilling good time.
So grab yourself a sweet tea, turn off the lights, and listen to some eerie, true ghost stories on Homespun Haints, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm not scared. Are you?
In his high school years, he was a good student and he liked to debate with his teachers. He always carried his Bible with him and dressed in his Sunday church clothes every day.
And like back then, there was like you would wear your school clothes, and then Sunday, my dad taught me this a couple weeks ago actually, on Sundays you had one outfit to wear, and that would be like your nicest dress, your best suit and pants, whatever.
Yeah, your Sunday best.
Yeah, and like that would be the only nice outfit that you had. The rest would be like worn school clothes with like patches on them and stuff like that. Like, and so the fact that he was walking around in Sunday church clothes every single day, like he had multiple outfits, especially right after the Great Depression or in the Great Depression, like that was saying something.
Instead of playing sports, he coached a baseball team and became aggravated over the way that African Americans that were attending the game were being treated. His dad became part of the Indiana branch of the KKK and wouldn't allow any of Jim's black friends inside of the house. In 1945, his parents separated and he moved to Richmond, Indiana with his mom. He graduated from Richmond High School in 1948 and started working at Reed Hospital in Richmond. The staff members at the hospital said that he exhibited disturbing behavior towards some of the patients and coworkers. In November of 1948, he moved to Bloomington, Indiana and went to the Indiana University to become a doctor. On June 12, 1949, he married Marceline Baldwin. She was Methodist and they argued a lot about church. Jim was against the Methodist belief of racism and he wanted to go to Bloomington's Full Gospel Tabernacle. He gave in and started going to the Methodist church and tried to turn his wife atheist.
Now that, why, like...
Which makes no sense.
Like, why are you still gonna believe in religion, but then get your wife to be atheist? What the heck?
In 1951, at 20 years old, he started going to meetings of the Communist Party USA, which led to his family being harassed.
Into his adult life, he was inspired by the idea of a just society that could overcome the evils of racism and poverty. He did not become that at all. As a child, he was obsessed with Pentecostalism, and Pentecostalism is a Protestant charismatic Christian movement that emphasizes direct personal experience of God through baptism with the Holy Spirit. Now that kind of makes sense.
You're just grabbing for you.
But that makes sense because he was baptized so much when he was a child. Like, I can see him wanting to follow through with that. In the 1950s, he participated in the Pentecostal Latter Rain movement and the Healing Revival. Wow, special.
Wow.
You? Want to see more of this? Straw.
Right in the eye.
Or this. But on my Sims.
No.
But not this.
You're not gonna get naked. It is not an OnlyFans.
I would love to see you over at Patreon. We have a Patreon account that the link is in the description. You can go to it and subscribe and see all of this bonus content, Q&As, lives, bonus pictures, bonus footage, blooper reels, death.
My back.
All of that and more. So if you want to get to know us on more of a personal level, I don't know why you would, because we're kind of chaotic, but starting at $3 a month, you can come and support us. The support helps us with things like buying new equipment, going out and making more content for you guys. So the support is very much appreciated, and I thank all of you who have or are going to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you over there.
Yeah.
Brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
The Cult. In 1955, he became popular and founded the People's Temple in Indianapolis. The roots and teachings were Christian revival movements. He called it apostolic socialism. Those who remained drugged with the opiate of religion had to be brought to enlightenment, socialism. In 1956, he was influenced by Father Divine and the Peace Mission movement. Peace Mission movement, a religious movement started by Father Divine. Father Divine, a religious leader who claimed to be God. Jim was distinguished through civil rights activism. The temple was founded as a fully integrated congregation.
Which means that all races could go.
Which didn't happen a lot back then.
Yeah.
They had black churches.
Yeah, which is why that was like such a big deal back then, because there was so much segregation going on.
It also promoted socialism. In 1964, he was ordained a minister by the Disciples of Christ. He was attracted to the disciples because they were accepting of different views, and in 1965, the temple moved to Redwood Valley, California. Jim was an extremely paranoid human and was terrified of nuclear attacks. He believed there was the safest place to survive a nuclear holocaust. In the early 1970s, the temple opened branches in LA and San Francisco. San Francisco became the temple headquarters. Being there gave Jim more support from local governments, putting him in high positions. The temple started gaining a big following, and several being African American. They wanted to be in the group because of Jim's faith healing. Members came and quickly had a rude awakening. They were treated badly, regularly humiliated, and beaten and blackmailed. Some were brainwashed into signing over their belongings and even their homes to the church. Black members were told that if they ever left, they would end up in government concentration camps.
Now that was like, so his dad was part of the KKK, which is racist against blacks. So then he wanted to start this group that was all race friendly, like there were all races welcome. But then he tells the black members that you can't leave or else you're going to be put in a concentration camp. And if you look in history, what did Hitler do? He put him in concentration camps. The Jews, not the blacks. But you can see through the things that he did that he really liked Hitler. And he really liked people that were dictators. And I just don't know why people... I mean, I know why people stayed, because they didn't want to be put in a concentration camp, but like, that wasn't gonna happen. Like, he had them so fucked up.
Family members were kept separate. In 1973, in the fall, there was a critical newspaper article made about 8 temple members and the treatment going on. Jim started making an emergency plan in case of a media or police crackdown. He wanted to move out of America to a safer place. He found Guyana and decided they liked the economy and agricultural mission there. Guyana was a predominantly English-speaking country. They agreed with the temple's socialist views, and Jim thought that Guyana was small and poor but independent enough for him to manipulate the government. In 1974, they negotiated a lease of over 3,800 acres in the jungle, 150 miles west of the Guyanese capital of Jonestown.
Had so much influence in America, but he was such a paranoid human. I don't even know why, like... Nuclear holocaust.
I don't know, if you were that paranoid, how moving somewhere else would make you less paranoid.
For real. Spoiler alert. He was still paranoid. Just the fact that he wanted to go to Guyana, he wanted to manipulate the government into doing what he wanted because he had so much government influence in LA. And he was like, oh yeah, I can probably go here and fuck these people up. Like, okay. And then that's when they started migrating. 500 members started the construction on Jonestown, and members were strongly encouraged. Strongly. Like, I feel like they were forced. They give you an ultimatum, like, you can stay here, and then this is gonna happen, so you're obviously gonna take the other alternative and move. Like, I doubt all of them just decided they wanted to leave America, like you're leaving everything, and move to a small freaking country in the middle of nowhere. Jim called it a social paradise, but when the members got there, they were like, oh no. He thought that it was such a great place to be because there was no media, there was no news, there was no cameras up in his face constantly, and no newspapers writing bad about him, and so he was like, this would be a great place. In 1976, the lease was finalized and they were all able to head on over there. Jim made an agreement with the Guyana government to allow a mass migration, and he would invest the group's assets into Guyana because the mass migration, that is almost 1,000 people, and Guyana is a very small country, was back then, I'm not sure if it even still is, but the government is very poor. It's a very small agricultural country, and if 1,000 people just up and move over there, it's going to overwhelm the government and the economy. Jim said, and I quote, "I believe we're the purest communists there are. Once a member arrived in Guyana, they were not allowed to leave without special permission from Jim, and most of the time he would say no. Like, once you were there, you were trapped. You were not leaving." Offices were created in Georgetown for meetings. In 1977, hundreds of members started moving to Jonestown because of the media investigations. A New West magazine editor read Jim an article that was going to be published by Marshall Kilduff. It was about allegations of abuse by former members. The members said they were being held there against their will and dealt with physical and psychological abuse. The fact that he ran away from his problems instead of facing them and denying the allegations, he never denied the allegations, he just fled the country, and so you know he was guilty, but he just never admitted it. Jonestown very quickly became overpopulated because you moved almost 1,000 members over there, and in 1978 the population was a little over 900, and that was about as big as it got. But you gotta think, when 3,800, that was the number, right? Yeah, 3,800 acres for 900 people, a little over 900, that's not a lot of area to go off of. And you gotta imagine, like, those people are probably having more kids, would have had more kids if they would have stayed there and everything. Hey, partner.
Howdy.
Would you like to hear a not so fun fact about Jim Jones?
Yes.
When he started the cult, he wanted to be called Prophet, just like Warren Jeffs. I forgot his name.
Tim.
Hey, Jim.
Would you like to hear a not so fun fact about Jim Jones?
Hell yeah, darn tootin'.
I thought you were gonna call me darling.
You're too much of a man to be called darling.
Hell yeah, darling. His children's names, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Were Lou, Suzanne, Stephanie, Agnes, Suzanne, and Stefan Gandhi. And several of his children were out of wedlock. Why do you look sad?
I was using my brain to think.
You were like,
that's against his religion.
Jonestown. Members came to Jonestown believing it was paradise. Once they arrived, they realized they were wrong. Members worked 6 days a week from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. with an hour for lunch. In 1978, Jim's health declined, so his wife started taking over. She changed the schedule to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. At the end of the day, they would have to go to classes on socialism for hours. Jim compared it to the North Korean schedule of working 8 hours and then studying 8 hours. He would brainwash members by constantly showing them films and giving them speeches, playing radio when they were sleeping, and he would get extremely angry when members didn't show an interest in his topics. There would be white nights. He would give members options: attempt to flee to the Soviet Union, commit revolutionary suicide, stay in Jonestown and fight the attacks, or flee into the jungle. If they picked revolutionary suicide, a mass suicide would be rehearsed.
So this is what the revolutionary suicide entailed. Everyone, including the children, was told to line up. As we passed through the line, we were given a small glass of red liquid to drink. We were told that the liquid contained poison and that we would die within 45 minutes. We all did as we were told. When the time came when we should have dropped dead, Rev Jones explained that the poison was not real and that we had just been through a loyalty test. He warned us that the time was not far off when it would become necessary for us to die by our own hands. And that came from Deborah Laifton. She was a temple director. And I found that on the internet and I thought that was kind of traumatic. Just imagine going through that situation, like drinking a red liquid that you didn't know what it was and it might kill you, it might not.
And then you're like, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And he's like, just kidding! I'd have killed him right then and there. The temple had been getting monthly shipments of cyanide, half a pound. Jim got a jeweler's license to get it, saying that he was going to clean gold. Instead, he started testing cyanide-laced drinks on pigs, and he started getting extremely paranoid over government interference, thinking his commune was going to be under attack.
You know how I said that he was going to get even more paranoid? It's happening!
There was a time known as the 6-day siege where the guards would surround the pavilion with crossbows and guns. He was so panicked over an intruder that he ordered an evacuation where many people got into boats on the George River. Many were injured by falling off of the boats. After that, Jim believed the Guyanese couldn't be trusted. He made members write letters to foreign governments wanting to know about immigration policies. He had many meetings with the Soviet Union, North Korea, Yugoslavia, and Cuba. In the end, he decided to stay. In 1978, Jim was told he had a possible lung infection and then told the members he had lung cancer. He wanted to get sympathy to increase their trust, and he was said to be abusing Valium. Valium is a tranquilizing muscle relaxer drug used to relieve anxiety. He claimed to have high blood pressure, small strokes, temporary blindness, convulsions, and weight loss. He would often go days without sleeping.
He's on drugs, and drugs make you more paranoid sometimes, so I feel like his paranoia over a nuclear attack and his paranoia from doing drugs just made him, and then not sleeping too, like, this man was a walking train wreck.
Ticking time bomb. Reiterman from the Examiner said, shocking to see his glazed eyes and festering paranoia face to face, to realize that nearly 1,000 lives, ours included, were in his hands. In November of 1978, Leo Ryan traveled to Guyana to inspect the temple. He was a U.S. congressman going there to investigate rumors that some members were being held there against their will. On November 14th, he got to Georgetown and got to Jonestown on November 17th. He was supposed to go home the next day. He was followed by several members who wanted to go home. Other members started attacking Ryan right before his vehicle was about to leave. He left unharmed, but the temple members launched an attack on the airstrip where Ryan and the other members were supposed to be leaving. 5 people were shot and killed. Ryan was one of them, along with 3 press members. 11 others were wounded.
And it leads us to the final part, the mass suicide. After the airport shooting, Jim released radio orders for the members to commit suicide. His revolutionary suicide plan is now going into action. There was a fruit drink laced with cyanide, tranquilizers, and sedatives. Babies and children were the first to drink from a syringe. Some were willing to drink, and others who didn't want to were held at gunpoint. Jim killed himself from a gunshot wound. He didn't take the drink, he just offed himself. 85 members survived because some were able to escape into the woods, others were simply in Georgetown, like his 3 sons were in Georgetown on a basketball trip, and they heard about what had happened, and they went to the Georgetown government and were like, yo, they all just killed themselves, what the hell do we do? The final death count was 909. 276 of that 909 were children. That is awful. When his sons went to the government officials, they were like, hey, this just happened, what do we do? Some of the officials accused them of, you know, helping and knowing what was going on. When they were on a basketball trip, they had no idea that this happened. And when the officials got there, they found a 45-minute tape of what had just happened, the mass suicide, and they called it the death tape. By the end of 1978, the People's Temple disbanded and they filed for bankruptcy. And that was the end of that. That is shitty.
It is.
So I hope you liked that. I gotta stop with this kind of shit.
I hope you really enjoyed this video.
I hope you liked this. Let us know in the comments what cult you want to see next, and we will do it. It can be one that I've already done, or one that I've never even heard of before.
But not the one we did last time.
Yeah.
We did that one.
Yeah, we did.
But one that she did before.
Yeah. So like and comment and subscribe. And we'll see you next time for another video.
Bye.
Okay, for the record, this video has taken us an hour and a half. It should have taken us 45 minutes, but we can't read, okay? So if you want to see that, go to the Patreon because it is awful.
It's mostly me.
Yeah.
It took a very long time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.